On the one hand, I'm really glad to see so many students here, and I hope you will understand by English it is always a mixture of Punjabi English, German English. So this is the one problem. The second problem is I prepared my lecture for historian of science, not for school kids. So I'm quite sure you will get bored after some time. How many of you have Facebook? Nobody? Nobody uses Facebook? This I also expected because my daughter told me, Papa, you are still old model, yeah? Nobody uses Facebook in these days. Who is using Instagram? I also use sometimes. Okay, if it is like this, and it is no well known. If you use Instagram, who uses TikTok? I think TikTok is forbidden in India, isn't it? Okay, the problem is your generation, yeah. You see something for if there is some video for 5 minutes, it's simply too long. People they want to see videos maximum 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So I'm very sorry that you have to follow it today for about 1 hour because the lecture it might be very boring, but I have some experience with the young people. I taught, I from profession, as you will say, I am a trained teacher. I taught in Indian schools for 5 years. And after seeing your uniform, it reminds me of my first job in Christian Model School in year 1980. We had similar white shirts. Then I went to government schools, cheaper schools. After 5 years, then I went to Germany. I became a scientist, but to earn my money, I worked in different schools for 20 years. So I have written several books, including the biography of Professor Roy. How many of you know the word INSA? It is abbreviation for Indian National Science Academy. I can only motivate you. If you are a fellow of the Indian National Science Academy, you are a big shot in Indian science. So do not forget this term, Indian National Science Academy. So I have written about 70 biographies of INSA fellows. Most of them, so these are some of the examples, they are not known to you. That is why I'm going to simply skip so that you do not get bored here. And practically most of them, they are at least 80%, they are from Bengal. I am a real fan of Bengalis. If you see their motivation, the literature they have produced, the history of science, about 80%, it is simply written by Bengalis. And we Punjabis, we do not understand this fun. Only recently I have started writing on it. Okay, more persons. And then one book, it was released, this one, 2-3 days ago at the University of Kolkata. And here is the name. I have no problem if you want to make photograph of this light. Have you ever heard the name of Chandrama Shah? If not, then you should take time to write note on these names, and later on, if you are interested, send email to other professors, Suprakash Roy, or to the director of this museum, I will send you free of cost a digital copy of the book. She is the first woman to become the president of the Indian National Science Academy in 85 years of history. So she is something. If you want to meet her personally, do you know where is Indian Institute of Chemical Biology? Do you know where it is? Yes? Jadavpur, isn't it? Then simply go there, meet her. She is a wonderful person. So we wrote her biography, we both, and it was released by A.K. Sood, FRS, Fellow of Royal Society of London, and he is the principal advisor to India's Prime Minister. And then in the middle, you have another famous name, Professor Prakash Roy, told about her. She was Chaudhary, and if I am not mistaken, in this museum you will find her bust. It is a long story actually. If I would have known there are only kids here, I would have prepared my talk only on her. Okay, being a science teacher, I am not only a science teacher for work for 25 years. My wife, she is a teacher. My daughter is a teacher. We are a teacher family. And recently, my wife, you see in the photograph, and myself, we wrote one book together. And then, do you know what is considered the highest honor for a scientist? Nobel Prizes. Who was the first Bengali who got a Nobel Prize? If you don't know, then leave the hall, please. Yeah. Rabindranath Tagore, 1940, for literature. Just last week, I delivered one lecture at the Chandigarh University about the Nobel Prizes. How many Indians they were nominated for the Nobel Prizes? How many got? All in all, only 18 scientists from India, from 1901 till 1974, they were asked by the Nobel Committee to send the proposals. What do you think, out of 18, how many were Bengalis? Not all, but at least of 1877. Out of 18, only 7. In the chemistry, the number is 21. Again, we have there 6 or 7 Bengalis. So in Punjab lecture, I said to the Punjabis, if you want to learn the game of the Nobel Prize, learn from Bengalis. They know how the things work. We Punjabi know not. We have only one person who was asked to send the proposal. Okay, I have written a lot of books. Have you ever heard the name of Hargobind Khurana? He's the person who got the Nobel Prize for Medicine in 1968, and he produced the genes in laboratory. So far back. Okay, another book on Nobel Prizes. This one again. And now my favorite topic where I started my journey in the history of science is C.V. Raman. And he discovered the effect at the Indian Association for the Cultivation of Sciences. If you go there to Yadavpur, that is not the right place. He did not discover that effect in the Indian Association at Yadavpur. It is Bo Bazaar, or where the discovered that there was the old Indian Association until 1948. So I wrote my thesis. It is only per chance that Professor Dr. Matthew Chandrakunar is there. He is not only a priest, he is a physicist also. He works also on the religion and science. So he was the person who published my first book in India. And here you see Professor Anabra Chaudhary is there. He wrote forward for two of my books. So now I come to my talk, Raman Effect. It is especially for you people to see the story when the newspaper writes. They will tell you something real bullshit. They will write about some great scientist telling how great he or she was, but if you start with the historical documents, the story is entirely different. Especially the scientist himself or herself will come on the stage and tell, oh, when I made the discovery, it costed me only 400 rupees. Here are statements from the scientist himself, and the students, his students, they are always one step ahead. They will never question the statement of his teacher, and they will start the similar shit again, telling, oh, my professor, he made discovery with the instrument that costed only $25. So that is the statement really irritated me, and then I started to find out how much was the cost of the discovery. So it's based on this book. I will leave book for your archive or library. And when I wrote the book, there were many newspapers, they really reported that the book shows the story differently. So the Raman Effect, it is from principle, it is very simple. Yeah, that you simply send light from one side. You need monochromatic light. In these still we have laser. Before 1960, there were no laser. The people, they have to filter the light. So you send the light here, and then to observe at 90 degree on this side, you will see not only the original color, for example green, but you will also see light of higher and lower frequencies. So this is all about the Raman effect. If you know the frequencies, then you can tell what is your inside, what is the structure of water or other molecules. That is the whole story. Okay, the Raman effect, in Indian books we call it Raman effect, but in other countries it is not called the Raman effect. There are reasons, because somebody already in 1923 he has predicted it. On that was Adolf Schmecker. In the field of science research, if you are doing research, you have to be very quick. That the Russians, they were working at the same time on the Raman effect. They also discovered nearly at the same time. So the Russian literatures still avoid the term Raman effect. They call it Raman effect and so on. So that is all. Article, again maybe a little boring for you. Most of the physicists, when they write about the discovery of the Raman effect, they take first article by Raman in Nature. So the discovery. So when you celebrate your science day in Kolkata, yeah, on which date? The science day in India, on which date you celebrate? You don't celebrate in Kolkata the science day? It's the National Science Day, 28th of February. So it is due to this paper that the Raman, he observed something, he went to the newspaper, and there it was then published, the new narration, and 28th of February, later I think about 1960, they started to celebrate the National Science Day. It is due to this discovery and this article in a Kolkata newspaper. Okay, nobody knows what is written, what was typed out by Raman or his nephew. Do you have some glass filter in your laboratory, in your school? If yes, try to do this experiment what Raman did. Simply you need sunlight, focus lenses, and here are filter, blue and violet filters. Then you take green and yellow, and if you put all the filters together, you will see practically nothing on this side. They are complementary filters. But if you put in between the two pairs some liquid, then you will see light is coming out, and that is due to the scattering, or that is the Raman effect. In the first part, Raman said that he used glass filters. I will just try to skip so that I come to the instrument. Then in the second, he said instead of sunlight, he took mercury vapor lamp and blue filter, and then he observed with the spectroscopes. Sometimes students, they can be also very nasty. That is also one that simply happened with Raman also. They were celebrating some century of something of Raman effect, and then one of his students, S. Bhagavantam, he gave a statement, it was only per chance. It was because it was a cloudy day, so that is why Sir C.V. Raman, he used mercury vapor lamp. It was not a well thought step. It was only per chance. And according to one statement from Raman's nephew, Ramasheshan, so Raman was really pissed off. He called his student, gave him call, how you dare to give such a statement. Okay, I was interested simply in one thing, whether a student is telling lies or Raman. Both of them who is correct. What to do? Maybe most of you or some of you know there is one observatory here, I will tell you later, and then I actually went there to see how was the weather on 28th of February, 1st of March, plus minus 2 days, and then I found out there were no clouds. For me it was very clear that Raman knew what he was doing. So this is the first spectrum taken by Raman. Above it is called polarized light. The word polarized means if we see the light, it is in all directions. But if I put a special instrument, then the light is only in one direction. That is called the polarization. You can make it. Okay, very rough. And here again, it is for you again to learn from Raman how to sell the discovery. You are still young, maybe in 4 or 5 years or 10 years, then you are also a researcher. And you have done very good research work. That is not enough. You have to learn how to sell it. That is what Raman did. He made a small preprint of the discovery with the spectrum, and he sent to the famous scientist who had the right of nomination. Okay. Raman then published a booklet with all the title of the articles, about 160, and then again it is a physics story. I skipped it, how the German community saw it. Some of they were of the opinion because the effect is very minute. It means if you write number 1 with 10 zeros, there are so many photons, 1 with 10 zeros, 8 zeros, yeah? Out of them, only 1 photon will produce this effect, theoretically. So it is almost impossible to observe what a theoretical physicists were thinking. So the article, it was published in German journal, and they gave name as Raman Effect. With that, Raman had the priority over the discovery. So was any of you at the Indian Association for the Cultivation of Sciences? If not, you may go there and they have displayed a spectroscope which they tell it is used by Raman. But before that, I think most of you know, if I ask you which color has the light, especially in 5th, 6th class, the kids will say, oh, it is white. But if you want to see the real color, you need a very simple spectroscope. Not even that. You need only a prism. You just tilt the prism in the direction of sun and then you will see the different colors. So that means light is not made of one color. For that you can measure, even see the lines with this spectrum. So here are some of the instruments. Maybe it's too high for these school kids. If you want to see the spectrum, you want to take the photograph, you need quite complicated instruments. Here all the instruments which Raman had, this I saw from his scientific papers. So again there are different type of E1, E2. E1 is the best one, E2 little bit better, and Raman at the time of discovery he did not have E1, and then he asked Birla and University of Kolkata to give him grant, and then he bought. So here are on the top one, this side, this is the spectrum which is you will see in the Indian Association, and here is picture of Sir C.V. Raman with his, it is also written here, Sir C.V. Raman with Raman Effect spectrograph. The same photograph was published later in the newspaper. Again here you see, and I then saw the spectrograph. Again here it is written baby part spectrum used by Raman. It is not written here anywhere that Raman made discovery with that, but the statement changes very quickly here. So Raman spectrograph, the first Raman spectrum was taken with this spectrograph, so it is far from the reality to be understood. And now there is a new plate there. When you go, they have displaced. So that beginning with our discovery which instrument Raman had, I then made the list from his scientific papers. You need not to read them. It is also not thought for you. I have simply the list, the instrument used by Raman in different papers, and then filter papers he required. Okay. So all in all, if you want to do Raman spectroscopy, you need a number of instruments which I have. So the quality is unfortunately not so good. So the cost of the discovery. So I made the list of all the instruments which were given by Raman in his scientific paper, and before that I contacted the archive of the Adam Hilgas from where Sir C.V. Raman was buying his instruments. So in the list you can see many things, and then the cost of the instrument. So number, again I made list of the instrument, and then I try to find out the price, and in the price my calculation came up to nearly 8,000 rupees, not 300 rupees, not 400 rupees, and not 500 rupees. So manpower, he was a famous scientist, so there were many who want to work with him. Here we have the list, 1923, 15 scientists, and 1926, 29 persons, 1927, he had 36 such scholars working with him. 1928, the year of discovery, again 32 research workers. financial conditions. I really hate this concept. Some Indians, they always take pride to show themselves poor. Those who had experience, who are abroad, if you talk in general, the people will say, oh, poor Indian. Nobody will say to a Chinese, yeah, oh, poor Chinese. How it comes? Because we have some politicians who create this impression abroad, and also if somebody says to me, oh, poor Indian, I will protest. I will say, in your country it is also not this. But we have learned to be polite. We should learn to attack back, to tell, no, it is not like this. Anyway, here I have one example of a great scientist, and if we see what he had in laboratory, at Cavendish, they are one of the best laboratories are considered. And here we see how much money he had, and he had a problem to employ a person. The person like Raman has 20%, 30%, 40% over. And here again, so then I need somebody, okay, maybe one of you, okay, she is not listening. May I request you to come, please? Okay, one of you, the first row. Yeah, you simply need to read the text, this one. So this is some true story and based on the historical facts. Yeah, let's start from Amma. Yes, only simply.
In J.J. Thomson's laboratory, following code by Falconer, naturally the scarcity led to the development of predatory habits, and it was said that when one was assembling the apparatus for research, it was necessary to carry a drawn sword in his right hand and his apparatus in his left.
Further?
J.J. Thomson's student, William Lawrence Bragg, 1890 to 1971, stated, "It was not an encouraging experience since, contrary to popular belief, the facilities for research in the Cavendish at that time were extremely primitive. The large number of research workers attracted there by J.J. Thomson's reputation quite overwhelmed the meager resources."
First of all, J.J. Thomson was the person who found the electric charge of the electron. Yeah? And then we have here William Lawrence Bragg. He was the youngest Nobel Prize winner. He and his father, they won the Nobel Prize. Okay, next, and now here again you see the condition of the so-called laboratory of the rich people, please.
W.L. Bragg. There was only 1 foot bellows between the 40 of us for our glass blowing, which we had to carry out for ourselves, and it was very hard to get hold of it. I managed to sneak it once from the room of a young lady researcher when she was temporarily absent, and passing her room somewhat later, I saw her bowed over her desk in floods of tears. I did not give the foot pump back.
So, that was the condition. Thank you very much. And here, we also see what is the condition of the so-called rich people, and here we have the poor scientists from Kolkata, and not only this. Okay, this is the salary in those days by the professor when they were appointed in the very first round, when the science college here started. And Raman, he was working in bank. He left, accepted as professorship, and his salary then it was about 1,000 euro, not euro, rupees in those days, plus house rent 125. And I really admire him for that, because he never asked that his salary should be increased, even after winning the Nobel Prize. It was only Sir Mukhi's son that he said, okay, the time has come, we should give him more money, but at the same time, immediately, there was protest from Ganesh Prasad, mathematics department, And here again, when Raman went abroad, he asked for grants and he got it every time. I have given simply some numbers here to show that he definitely did not belong to the poor scientists. And also, he was a well-known person. He was invited to deliver the lectures. For that, he got money, especially from the Punjab University, Lahore. And have you heard the name of Sir C.V? Definitely you have heard. He also delivered lecture at the Punjab University, but he refused to take money. He said, I don't want this money. You should start some sort of scholarship for intelligent persons, for young students. Again, Raman, he wanted to test the theory of relativity. He asked for grant. He got immediately 10,000 for his research work. So that was the big science. Most probably, he made huge apparatus with 200 long feet, pipes, and so forth. And he spent for this project 5 or 6,000 rupees. It came nothing wrong. That is research. Sometimes you waste your time and money, except one publication that was. Okay, manpower, I told, literature. In the Indian Association, there were hundreds of books, all the available journal from not only from India, from Germany, France, America, Russia, whatsoever. So there was no lack of journals for him or her. Then the bulletin was started by the Indian Association proceeding, and later on proceeding to proceeding, and the Indian Journal of Physics. And also he has very good instrument makers. Here you see the list which he bought and made. Also he has very good instrument makers, and there is also story that Sir C.V, he had very good instrument makers. If you have the chance, I said you must have seen the instrument made by his workers. When Raman became professor, he sent 2 of his students to Sir C.V.'s workshop in C.V.'s absence, and the student told the mechanics, Sir Raman has sent us. No, at that time, he was not Sir Raman, he became in 1929. Professor Raman has sent us. He says, if you leave this working place and come to to Professor Raman, he will pay you 2 to 3 times more salary. And the mechanic, he was loyal person. He told to Sir C.V. And Sir C.V. then he wrote one letter to the Vice Chancellor of the Kolkata University, and he protested. Okay, conclusions. I was telling about the price of the discovery. According to my opinion, it is complete nonsense to talk about the price. The scientist is telling I made discovery with this amount of money or dollars or whatever. It doesn't make any sense. Why can simply say the Meghat Sahab would have also said he needed only 2 pages of paper and pencil, yeah? S.N. Bose, the founder of Bose Science and Statistics, he wrote one article, just 1 page. So he could have also argued, I made my discovery with 50 cents or 50 pesos there. So it doesn't make any sense to talk about the discovery and the price. Then I try to show that Raman has a well-equipped laboratory. He had trained several Indian scientists, and now it is not for the young student here, it is more for the persons who are sitting and who are working here in the Birla Museum. took this photograph in 1998. The Kolkata University still has this piano used by Raman for his experimental work. He has also marked he was a great musician in the sense he did a lot of work on the musical instrument, Indian musical instruments especially. From that he first became famous. Afterward he came to life. And then he installed Helmholtz resonator if you want to do experiment with sound. So these things are there, and then some part of some Raman spectroscopy. So that means your museum can try to acquire these instruments before they are diminished, finished, or get lost. Okay, then thanks for the invitation and acknowledgement. The documents they are always provided by the archives, otherwise you cannot do any history of science. And here is my family. Then thanks for your patience, especially the school kids, and I hope they have learned something. Thank you very much. So I think especially who are here using Instagram and just go home and see the type of Raman, you will find many short videos. Most of them are completely rubbish out. This I can already tell you because I have seen practically everything what is written about Raman. It is always the same story without any historical truth, but it makes sense to see it. And also you know why you celebrate National Science Day on 28th of February. But in the beginning there was also some protest, naturally the protest from Bengali side, yeah? Why you take C.V. Raman, why not our scientists? Why not to take J.C. Bose? Or find other date? But somehow in the end the government of India, I think, they decided for Raman. That is how the 28th of February becomes National Science Day.
Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful lecture. Now, may I request the students, if you all have any questions, sir will answer them. So, is there anybody who wants to ask any question to sir? College students and the school students as well.
Hello. Guten Mittag, sir. Ich bin Sudipto. In the past years, I had the opportunity to visit Oxford University and also Paro University, Bhutan. So there, with my mother for attending a conference in re-envisioning educational pedagogies, and which included science education and its redefinition and novel steps to carry out its ideas, which had quite a bit of contrast between them, between UK's vision of science propagation and also with the Bhutan's. And so I would request you to kindly share your views on the perspectives in approach and to science education and its nurturance in India, Germany and the United States. What your views are?
So, United States, so I have no opinion about the United States, so I will shut my mouth. Because I believe me, I will never write something if I have no evidence. I will not talk about it issue if I have no knowledge. So I was never in USA, so I cannot say anything. I have experience in Indian schools. Yes, I can say something. And also in Germany. Even during last 20 years, I always went to different schools. What unfortunately I had never any chance to go to any school to Kolkata. So therefore it is little bit difficult to tell the real story, but I can tell you more about Indian system because I taught there for 20 years. German education system, actually from the very beginning, they concentrate much more on the experimental work. Even in primary schools, you learn what experiment is. My wife, she was primary school teacher, she made some projects. And there are also science competition. I don't know how it is in Bengal, whether there are some sort of science competitions. So in Germany, there are really many science competitions. More importantly, the universities, they are playing big role. In our university, it is not running. Practically many universities, they have the called Kinder University, Children University. That means even especially the kids from the primary school, they are invited to the university, and the professors, they prepare lectures so that the kids, they can participate and they can do experiments. In our own research group, we always invite the students, small students. I think this is the right concept. More practical stuff, more education. And in India, I think at least I can say about Punjab, you do your 10th class, you have never seen the laboratory, how a laboratory looks like. You do your MSc, I can talk about my own nephew who did his MSc here from the DAV College, Jalandhar. It is called the best college. In his whole MSc, he never saw a laboratory from inside. For me, it is completely rubbish system if you are teaching science and there are no laboratories. So that is the difference between German education system and in some institutions in India. I cannot say that all are like this, but I can talk only of Punjab. This is the major drawback. And what you can maybe do here is to start maybe we can communicate privately. I can tell you how the science competition really works. There is not only one science competition. Even if your teachers are there, I can simply motivate you what I did. Is there somebody from the teachers who is teaching physics? If yes, a very simple experiment which I did always, I asked the student to do themselves. Simply, you know the word spaghetti, the long noodles, to make bridges with spaghetti, the noodle, which bridge looks very fine. How many weight it can tolerate, up to how many kilos, yeah? These are simple experiment which the kids they can do in lessons. Some sort of project work, that was what I did for 20 years. So that is actually the right motivation.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I think we have one more student who wants to ask one question. So,
Oh, this I will not like to answer. Because students, they have always good questions. Okay, let me see whether I can answer.
Hello, I am Shomik De from St. Paul's College, one of the students of physics honors. I have a single question, maybe two questions.
Yeah.
One is, what is the first thing cracked in the mind of Sir C.V. Raman, which provoked him for the discovery of Raman Effect? What is the thing that cracked in his mind, or the indications that he thinks that it is not completed yet?
Do I rightly understand you want to know how Raman came to the idea of the Raman effect or what? I said maybe didn't understand the question.
I am just asking that before the discovery of Raman effect, there is a thing that the spectroscopy and what he has just performed, the experiment, but why he thought that it is not completed yet. There is something more for the monochromatic light or how he understand that there is an effect too that he could discover?
The story is very simple. The Compton Nobel Prize, it was given in 1927. The Compton effect is similar in the sense you send X-rays and then the scattered X-ray come with the different frequencies. So the idea was known, and even before, not only Raman, there were many who were expecting that if this effect of change of wavelength is possible in X-rays, it must be possible in the case of normal light. So Raman, he was convinced, and he, in 1928, he also gave the theory of Compton effect in terms of wavelength. For Raman, it was the motivation, this to come to the discovery. But before that, in 1923, there was K.R. Ramanathan, who worked for 2 years. Then came K.S. Krishnan, who was, and in those days, they already observed the effect. They called it as diffuse fluorescence or weak fluorescence. That means when they tried to take the spectrum also, but not, they were not successful. It was only after the Compton Nobel Prize which really convinced someone, now he should work on it. So that is my view, if I properly understand your question.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have one more thing. This is more personal.
Yeah.
That is, how can in case of research work,
Yeah.
how can one understand that which kind of instruments or what special instruments he want for his laboratory? How can one understand or specify it? Because it is completely of his own, for his own purpose. But how can one understand that I want this or this kind of instruments or with these facilities or with these characters?
Yeah, I think if I'm working on acoustic, yeah, I know which instrument I need for my research work. There are always some standard instruments, but in those days some people taught themselves how to make it. We used spectroscope, they were available. Because if I say I want to see the color of the light, I know that I need spectroscope. As a physicist, I must know these things. And if these are not available, then I have to make them. So for me it is a very simple question. If I do particular research, I know which instrument I require for them. If I'm an astrophysicist, I know what I need. That is my opinion.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So we have one question from a school student.
Okay.
Sir, I'm Tanvi Sangvi and I'm from 10. My question was that what was your psychology behind choosing Raman instead of some other scientists which are not known to us?
So can you repeat the question and slowly, please? Yeah?
So,
I'm an old man, I need little bit time to understand. Yeah, okay.
Sir, my question was what was your psychology behind choosing Raman for this lecture instead of some other scientists?
Okay.
Which are not known to us.
If I would have known that I'm going to talk about with the school kids, you can be very much sure I would have taken the other subjects about school education. This is what I also did 2 years ago in Punjab. I was invited by the Punjab School Education Board. So now my idea about C.V. Raman, it was very simple story. They asked me on which lecture I would like to talk. I said I will talk on those topics which I know well. I know well about C.V. Raman. I think I know about Meghnad Saha also. But if I would have known the people they are interested in Meghnad Saha, actually I would have preferred to talk on the Nobel Prize because you are the future of the country. You are the future person who are going to win the Nobel Prizes. So that would have been my desire.
And sir, during the experiment which you were talking about, so why didn't you talk about the absorption of the particles? Because during the scattering of light, some like particles are absorbed also.
Because the Raman effect, it is not only about the scattering. If you want to do the absorption, if I'm not entirely mistaken as a physicist, for absorption you need infrared spectroscopy. So but here it is not only about scattering light, that is why I say about scattering.
Thank you so much, sir. Is there any more students who want to ask any question to sir? Anybody? I don't think so. Any more students are there? Okay. So we end our question answer discussion session here. Thank you, students.
I would like to request all of you to please join your hands after this lecture of Professor Rajinder Singh. Please have a round of applause for Professor Singh. Thank you, sir.